Hey everyone, well, thanks for tuning in to the Saltwater Redge YouTube channel. Today we've got another Boogie Minnow video variant, another color variant. We're going to do a mullet today. If you are curious about my thoughts on colors or just thoughts on color in general, you can check out the Bunker Boogie Minnow video. I talk a little bit more about it in there. But we'll just get right into this mullet here. I'm using the Uni Thread again. I do really like this thread. If you haven't tried it, I do recommend you try it. This is the Silver Dr. Blue color. I like to mess around with some thread colors. You know, it's an inexpensive way to add a little bit of pop to the fly. So yeah, today we're using the Silver Dr. Blue. This is the 6/0 size. If you pull heavy on your thread, I recommend the 3/0 size. But I'm plenty content with this 6/0. I'm using the Mustad Heritage hook and a 2/0. Any of your favorite hooks will do for this fly. I just like the wide gap on this. You don't want an extra long shank and you don't want a short shank. Just that standard shank length is good for this one. So we'll get right into it. Gonna start just by working our thread base. All right, so we're taking the longest of our white bucktail to tie in platform, so to get our length figured out for the fly. And you definitely want to use your longest bucktail for this part. Just a small clump. Put it on the back of the hook. Couple loose wraps, and then secure it down. Like so. Make sure it's kind of evenly distributed. This is going to be about the longest point of the fly. So however long you want the fly is how long you want your bucktail there to be. Then we're going to take our saddle hackle or our strung Chinese hackle in white. We're going to do 2 on each side. So I double them up. I've snipped them just where the stem starts to get thin. I'm leaving some of that fuzzy stuff that helps you tie it in and keeps the feathers in place. I put them flat on the side of the hook shank on one side, and then the same process on the other side. Once those feathers are secure, I'm going to tie in just a little bit of flash. And this is the mullet, so in all my bait fish, I'm using just a little bit of red for that wounded or stressed look. Takes 2 strands of this red Flashabou, double it over the thread, and then a couple wraps to secure it on. Then I'm going to take a couple strands of blue. Same idea. Cut them and double them over the thread. Yep. And we're going to take our ostrich plume and cut some of the long hurl fibers, probably 8-ish or 10-ish. We do want these to be long, just helps with the overall profile of the fly at the end. We're just going to tie them right over the saddle feathers we just tied in. And then we're just going to take some Marabou. This time we're going to use tan or ginger. Using ginger this time, tan works fine. Just a little bit of brown in that mullet. Just gonna take a Marabou plume, nice healthy clump of the fibers. Got it. Did it. Try to get them all lined up. And then just tying that little clump in over that ostrich. Couple loose wraps, and then locking down that material. Now we are going to go back to our white bucktail. And this stuff, you want it to end about here. So not your longest bucktail, maybe your second longest bucktail for this tie-in section. And we're going to take a medium-sized clump. Get those smaller hair fibers out of there. Clean up the butt ends and just tie them straight back. When I put them on, I'm using my pointer finger, sort of pushing down on them just to spread them out a little bit and veil them around the shank a bit to about halfway. You can use your finger, press them around. Then securing that bucktail down. Then the same idea on the bottom, another small clump of bucktail. Take those small hairs out. Try to split it around the shank of the hook there. Couple loose wraps. Then I like to take a peek and spread it around, make sure everything is evened out in the veil. Pretty happy with that. I'm just going to lock all that hair down. I moved the thread up a little bit. For the next section of bucktail, this is going to be a little shorter than the last. Again, same exact tie-in process as the previous one, just a little shorter. I'm going to go on the top first. And get that to veil around a little bit. Then the same step on the bottom. And again, splitting the fibers to go around the shank pretty evenly there. Couple loose wraps, and then I'm just moving it around my thumb or my finger. And then just securing all that hair down. Now I'm going to take some of the Ripple Ice fiber and UV Pearl, a little clump of that, and this is going to give us those scaly sides that the mullet have. I'm just going to take out a not too big of a clump, less is kind of more with this stuff. And I'm going to pull it out so it's nice, so it's, you get all the long fibers going. And I'm going to tie it about down in the middle. So you got some long stuff going forward, you got some long stuff going back. I'm going to spread it again with my finger around the fly a little bit. Try to get it to blend into the bucktail veils we just tied in. Then I'm going to fold the stuff going forward backwards and spread that out a little more. Looking good. Then I'm going to take some gray bucktail, start to darken that back a little. Just a smallish clump of gray. Shorten it a little bit to continue that taper of the fly. And we're going to leave it, instead of spreading it around the shank a little, we're going to leave it going along the back. It's just going to help darken the back of that mullet. We've got people with questions calling in. So we've got that gray bucktail in. And then we're going to take, is this the peacock? Yep, we're going to take the dark peacock ripple ice as our last dark segment of the back. Pull it out, kind of straighten it out, then fold it in half. Gives you a nice tie-in point. Lay it down over the back. Then just secure it down. Then our last step in the body. So we're going to take some of this white, and you can use, this comes in different colors. This is the fin raccoon. We get it from shore fishing up in Canada. It's just a great quality stuff. Lots of movement and durable. It's got some guard hairs, which gives you some natural taper. You can use, feel free to mix up whatever colors you want. Maybe you want some gray for your mullet. In this case, I've got white. So I'm going to take a pinch about this much here. I'm going to trim it a little bit shorter. And like we were doing with the bucktail, I'm going to lay it on the top and then start to push it down and around the hook shank to get it to veil around the fly. It's just going to help with the overall taper and the body of the fly. A couple loose wraps and then locking it down. Make sure it's relatively evenly distributed around the fly. Got some static going on here.
Oh, back.
Just clean up the head a little bit. And now we're ready to do the head. I'm going to take this Duraflash tubing in the black. It's very similar to Easy Body, but it comes in some nice colors. I'm going to leave the threads of the tubing, so that black thread there, I think you can see that, top and bottom. I'm going to leave those top and bottom on the fly. Slide it just over the thread, a little further back, and then just start to wrap and secure that tubing down there.
Yeah.
Now you want to go pretty tight here. You don't want this tubing going anywhere. Probably 8 to 10 tight wraps. This is usually where I break my thread. Then it's pretty hard to whip finish all this, so I just take my UV glue, put a drop on the thread, and spread it around a little bit. Try to keep the UV on the tail end of this, so on this side of the thread. It'll help you when you go to fold the head back. And I'm just going to hit it with a light. Dry it all up so it's not going anywhere. Get my thread out of the way. I'm going to push this back over itself here. Figure out the shape I want, about that big. If I cut it here, it's over the eye, so I have more than I want, so I'd end up having to push it back further. So to account for that eye of the hook, I'm going to pull it forward a little and then cut it. Then I'm going to take this cautery pen. It's a very useful tool. You can use a lighter as well. And I'm just going to melt the tips of that a little bit. Helps to tie it in. Keeps it from fraying as well. I'm going to pull the head back a little bit, restart my thread just behind the eye. Try to catch all those fibers of the tubing.
You just want to let, yes, what?
And then just make a nice little clean thread head there.
So, he'll be,
That looks good there. So we're just going to add a drop. You can whip finish it, or if you have UV, you can just add a little drop to your UV glue. Hit that with the light. Get the thread out of there. And then use the eyes. You can use whatever eyes you like. I like the 3D hairline eyes. This is the super pearl color. And I just try to line them up so they're not all crooked. Then I'll go over the front of the head and the eyes with that UV. Eyes look pretty straight. I'll take my UV again. Just lightly go over everything. This is the thick UV. I just find it dries a little bit better. And when you're doing heads, you have a little bit more work time before it starts dripping around on you. Get that hair out of there. Then just even out that UV, make sure it's not clumping up in one spot. Looks pretty good. And then just hit it with the light.
what? But,
And now it is ready for all the big bass that are coming to eat the mullet. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, hit that like button or the subscribe button if you're not already. It helps out the shop tremendously. If you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. And we'll see you in the next one.
wait.